Hello. So we carry on the tutorial on the hierarchy based animation, and this time we will start making our animation basically. So the first thing we need to understand, first before anything else, we open the file, so we have it here. We press Ctrl Shift Z, we have everything zoomed in. Then we maximize the window with the perspective, and we can have a look at it like this. So what we're going to do now is start creating links, creating hierarchies, creating different steps to create useful and interesting relationship between different parts of the object. It's very important to follow the step one by one, and it's also very important not to miss a step. So I will go slowly and I will repeat many times. So now that we have opened the file, that we've maximized the perspective view, and then we have this, we can do things differently. We can click on the object, on the image, and you can see this is clamp 2 and this is clamp 1. So you can click clamp 1 and clamp 2, and clamp 2, and we have selected clamp 1 and clamp 2. Or we can do it in a more methodical way, because you start to see a scene that is complex, and you might have object behind object, and you might select the wrong object. So to make things simpler, we can do it differently. We can press the H key, which gives us the list of objects, and here we select clamp 1 and clamp 2. So we select clamp 1 and clamp 2, and then we say okay, we selected them, and then we have this. We have the two objects that are selected. We could have done it also by just clicking here and clicking on the other object, the same effect. But we better use the H key when we start doing this, because as you can see, there are small parts here that we might not select properly, and you don't want to get into any mistakes. So we've selected these two clamps, and then what we do, we go to the select and link tool in the main toolbar. So this is our main toolbar, and this is the select and link tool. It's the third one in the icons. So we click on this, and then when you have this, we notice that our cursor change shape and becomes something like two little square. This becomes from a normal selection cursor to a linking cursor. And when we click on our object, we see like a rubber band come in. So what we want to do here is connect to this object, which is the horizontal head pivot. So we click on this, and we have a connection with our 360 head pivot. So that means our two objects are connected to this one. And let's see that it's the case, because if we do a rotation of our object, of the 360 head pivot, we can see that the other rotates as well. Now we're going to undo all this, Ctrl Z, Ctrl Z, Ctrl Z. So there's no connection anymore. And now if we do a rotation of this, they don't rotate. So we Ctrl Z, go back to this original position. We select this and this. We select the two clamp object. We can do it like this directly, or by using the H key and getting the list of objects. We click on this object, and then we connect it to this. So now we've connected our two clamp to the head pivot. Right, when we've done that, we're satisfied that it's working. We can move to the next part, which is to go further. So we select, we go to the selection tool in the main menu bar. We select our 360 head pivot, which is this one. And what we do now is we do a select and link tool, and we press the H key. So now you see it becomes a link, and we can select which object we're going to link into. And in this case, we're going to link the 360 head pivot, which is the one that we selected right now, and we're going to connect that with the vertical head pivot. So the vertical head pivot is this one. You can click here, and you can say, yes, please, link. And now the two are linked. So we can check the vertical head pivot. We can click here, it's the vertical head pivot. And when we do a rotation, we can see that the other are linked, which is what we want. So now that the 360 degrees head pivot is connected to the vertical head pivot, and the two what are they called? The two clamp 1 and clamp 2 are in turn they're connected to the 360 head pivot. So we started creating a little hierarchy here. And you can see that because if we click here, we can see that there's a 360 head pivot, and then we click again, we have the 2 clamps. So we started doing a little hierarchy. So what we do next is we can do something else. So we are into our selection mode, and what we do now is we're not into the link select and link. We are in the just select mode, and when we press H, we can see the hierarchy, and we click here, we can see how the objects are connected via hierarchy. There's the vertical head pivot, which is the parent of the 360 head pivot, which is the parent of clamp 1 and clamp 2, which is what you've just done. So we can carry on with this, and we can do something more interesting. We can start building a hierarchy by making things going to one another until we can have the whole robot connected. So what we do now, we do it in a smart way. We've connected this to this, we connect this to this, and then etc. So we select this, we do a link, we go on it, and we connect it to this, and then we have this. Now we close this selection. We have connected this to this part, which is we connected the vertical head pivot to the horizontal head pivot, and now the horizontal head pivot will be connected to the head holding. So we click on the head pivot, the horizontal head pivot, we link it. Sorry, what have I done here? Select. We select the horizontal head pivot, and then we make sure, yeah, we are on it, and then we link it to the head holding. Now we link the head holding, so we make sure we stop this connection by going to the selection object. We select our head holding, and we're going to connect it by making sure we use the cursor on top of the object. We click and you drag this rubber band, and we connect it to the next part, which in this case is a third pivot. Now that we've done this, we go on and so forth. And what we do next, we go back to the selection object, we select the third pivot, and then we're going to connect it to the next part, which is the second arm. Then we go back to the selection object. This is the second arm, this is the second pivot, this is the first arm, this is the first pivot, then this is the base holding, and then this is the base, and that's what we have. So this is how our hierarchy is organized. So we've done the second arm, we click on the second arm, and we're going to link it to the second pivot, which is here. So now we have the second arm linked to the second pivot, and then we select the second pivot, and we connect it to the first arm. So we connect it to the first arm, link it to the first arm, sorry. And now we select the first arm, and we link it to the first pivot. And then we select the first pivot until we have done the whole hierarchy, and then we connect it to the base holding, and then we select the base holding, and we connect it to the base. And now, if we have it all working properly, when we do a rotation of the base, we should see the whole thing rotating area. So that's how you know you've got it right, because when you move the base, the whole thing rotates. Well, if I move only this part, only the pivot will rotate. Am I doing something wrong here? Yeah, okay, that's something we need to specify in a minute. But for example, if I do this and I rotate here, oh yeah, sorry, I need to change here the I need to change that to local. That's the reference coordinate. So when I do the rotation, it's always according to the Yeah, that's much better. Okay, and for example, if I do this, you can see my hierarchy is starting to get to materialize. So remember that your reference, that the reference coordinate system is set to local, not set to view, to local here. Okay, forgot to do that, sorry. So make sure we don't forget anything. We're going to save that. Save. No, I shouldn't have saved. Well, save as, I should say. And it's going to be example. So this is 21. Example 21.1. Okay, so now we're starting to have some sort of a hierarchy working, and now what we need with this. So that's what we need to do so far, and then we can do it differently. We're going to do that in a minute, and then we're going to do something else afterwards. So we save this, and thank you very much for your attention.